When preparing for the uncertain times ahead, we need to store up food. That is the number one thing we need to do. Get your finances in order by getting food so that you don't have to purchase that in the future. And to do that, we need to pick out things that are going to last a very long time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly walk you through 25 food items that will last indefinitely as long as you package them properly. We're going to go over real fast what is the threat to each one of these as well. As we go through. So some of them you can just keep away from light, some of them you can just keep away from air, some of them you need to keep temperature and all that kind of stuff like that. All this is going to add to its lifespan, but without further ado, let's jump into these 25 foods that will never expire or as long as you package them properly. Number one is going to be white rice, right? I didn't want to bring up a 5-gallon bucket because you can't really see it. If it's in a 5-gallon bucket in a Mylar bag, this is a 5-gallon bucket Mylar bag packet so that I can just keep stacking some more. Of course, got some of those laying around. But if you want to just put it in a 2-liter bottle, empty 2-liter bottle, very clean, make sure it's super dry. Rice mostly just needs to be dry. Now, if you block the UV and you block the oxygen as well, you're going to keep it fresher, but you can just keep it dry and it should be generally good for a very, very long time. If you want super, super long time, like indefinitely, then Mylar bags in a 5-gallon bucket. The 5-gallon bucket will keep the rodents out of it, and the Mylar will keep the light, oxygen, and moisture away from it. Number two, very similar to that, you can do beans. Now, you can put rice or beans into canning jars as well. These are lentils because I like lentils and I like Indian food. And Indian food is like the best vegetarian food. It's so flavorful, so wonderful, even though a lot of times it doesn't have any meat in it. So I think that's the perfect prepping food. So I have giant things of spices. We'll get to that in just a little bit. But lentils serves the same basic function to create the complete protein with rice, lentils, beans. You can use nuts or you can use meat to complete the protein with rice out there. Beans, again, you can store them in plastic bottles. You can store them in canning jars. Lentils are a little more expensive. That's why I have it in a canning jar, and I use them. Also, you can put them in the 5-gallon buckets too. That's also a great thing to do. All right, number 3, chicken bouillon. You need some flavor for that rice and beans. It's going to taste nasty otherwise. You can use spices. But chicken bouillon, they come in these big jars. I'm going to put a number of these things down in the links down below so you can order them directly if you need some. But if you just have rice and beans and no flavoring, that's not going to be very tasty. Number 4, white vinegar. White vinegar will last a very long time. Chicken bouillon just basically needs to be protected from moisture, but also light because it's got the oils in there. White vinegar, it basically will just last. So you can just store it in a bottle. You can just keep it in the bottle that it came in. That's fine. 5, salt. Need to keep the salt away from moisture, generally speaking. You don't need to, but let's just say it'll be a much more pleasant experience if it's not a solid block of salt when you get to it. It usually comes in those cardboard things. You might want to repackage it into jars. If you have some big canning jars, that's a great way to put them. You can put them actually into 2-liter bottles. That works fine. You just need to keep the salt away from moisture so it doesn't clump up. You can also throw some rice in there just to keep the moisture at bay as well. Number 6, canned cheese. A lot of people don't mention this stuff, but have it in front of me here. Bega cheese is delicious. Canned cheese, this lasts indefinitely. Also, a cheaper variety is stuff like this. This is the Aldi version, I think. Yeah, this is Aldi canned cheese. It's aerosolized. This probably doesn't last forever, but it sure lasts a long time. That's a metal can. As long as you keep the can away from moisture and it doesn't rust out, you're basically getting indefinite from that as well. It will start to, the texture will change a little bit, but the compression of the aerosol should stay fine in there, and then the cheese itself should be fine. Number 7. Oh, you can also go dehydrated on that too. There's dehydrated powdered cheeses out there that you can look into. Number 7, canned butter. I have a canned butter around here somewhere. This is the gold standard red feather. It's gotten a lot more pricey recently. This is New Zealand. It comes from New Zealand. Canned butter is great. You can also go the powdered route on that as well. There's powdered number 10 cans, like Augustin Farms puts that out, so it's dehydrated. You can also go with ghee. Ghee works as well. Number 8, canned, dehydrated, and freeze-dried meats. Gold standard of meat out there is these canned hams. They've gotten a lot more expensive as well, but you know, that's basically life. Keystone meats as well. This is beef, shredded beef. Now, you may see that that label looks a little discolored, and there's a good reason for that. I did not store this super properly. It got moisture, and so the label has gotten moldy, and the can is fine, but some things in that room that got moisture, the cans actually did compromise. So that is a warning out to you all about canned goods. Please, 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 one, be careful about stacking them. I had a stack of green beans in a stack that some of the cans ruptured or whatever, and then the juices rusted out others and caused them to compromise as well. What happens if some of your cans compromise is going to compromise all the other stuff you have in that area, and keeping moisture away from the cans. Also being aware of the cans with the push tops, those can, the seals can break under certain circumstances. So be careful with how you store your canned goods. If you're careful with them and you keep moisture away from them, they basically will last forever. Chick coin, as we call it. Chicken in a can. It's chick coin. It's the hottest new, and it's going to be forever the best thing to have in your stockpile, best currency. People will always want canned chicken for trading and everything like that. You can also go with the freeze-dried. We got the prepper beef out there. This one's open. Prepper beef is fantastic. Tastes great. But you also have your dehydrated meats. You can go with like beef sticks. This is like, these things last forever. You know, if you've been to a gas station, you know these things basically last forever. So those are great options too. Vienna sausages. I don't know why I got a barbecue one, but that's fantastic. These are the cheapest way to go right now. That is basically chicken that they separate from the carcasses after they got all the prime cuts off the chicken. So this is just like basically shredded chicken that's been mushed up. It's kind of, you know, I know some people don't like them, but they are the cheapest way to get animal protein out there. So those are some good options there with canned meats and stuff. Number 11, we're going to go with potato flakes. Canned potatoes, you can get cans of potatoes. That's great, but potato flakes are a great long-lasting thing. You just mix them with some hot water, and boom, you have an instant meal. I like the flavored ones that have the butter and everything like that in them because they taste just wonderful, and you don't have to do anything to them. But the potato flakes are cheaper to buy in bulk, but you will need to flavor them up a little bit, whether it's with some canned butter, some canned cheese, or some powdered stuff that you have, whatever, to make them more flavorful, or some spices. All right, number 12. Almonds and peanuts. These are often overlooked by a lot of preppers, but if you store the peanuts and almonds in a way that keeps the moisture from them, the plastic jars and stuff like that they come in will not work. You must repackage them into something that's going to be better for keeping them dry. And also think about, once you open up whatever container you have with them in, you're going to have to worry about that. You can put desiccant packets in there to keep the moisture away. And you can also, you want to keep the oxygen away from them as well, because they're made of oils. Peanuts and almonds are great options there. Number 13, multivitamins. Multivitamins basically last forever, and you really will need those trace nutrients and such. Those trace, and it's super cheap to get multivitamins. Malnutrition usually is caused by missing a few of the vitamins. So think about getting some big jars of multivitamins. You can get them from Walmart. Equate has a great set, and they're just dirt cheap. when you really think about it. So definitely get a whole bunch of multivitamins. As long as you keep them sealed up, they should last basically indefinitely there too. 14, canned and freeze-dried vegetables. Canned vegetables. Again, you can see the discoloration. My green beans were the ones that exploded. And so I lost a whole bunch of green beans. You can see the rust marks on the can because this got some moisture on it. Keep your canned goods dry. My mistake, please don't make the same mistake. I lost a whole bunch of cans that way. But canned vegetables like canned green beans are super cheap if you get them in bulk and all that kind of stuff. You can also freeze dry them or get them pre-dried for you. Freeze-dried veggies, I don't know if that's really the best way to go with that, but hey, if it's whatever you want to do. But I would say that you can dry your own and then store it in canning jars. That's a good way to go. Or you can buy pre-dried shredded vegetables like soup vegetables. You can get that and put those into canning jars. That's a good option right there. Number 15, alcohol. I'm going to throw vanilla extract in there too because that's basically just alcohol with vanilla beans in there, right? You can make your own vanilla extract. It's getting hard to get that out there. Vanilla extract, and it's expensive. It's just better to make your own nowadays, honestly. Alcohol, make sure you're getting the like spirits, hard liquor, basically. Make sure you're not getting like wine does go bad, contrary to popular belief, especially the store-bought varieties, of course. And then a lot of stuff that has extras in it will go off as well. Whereas the pure alcohol, Everclear, I think it's called, that's a great option there. Also, you can just know how to make your own. Make sure you have lots and lots of sugar and you have yeast in order to make your own alcohol. Number 16, honey. Honey lasts basically forever. It will start to clump up, but that's a great option there too. Number 17, herbs and seasonings. We already kind of covered, I think I already covered sugar at 9. Sugar is definitely something you need for making alcohol. You need it to make stuff taste better, and it's cheap for the calories that it is. So rice and beans is the cheapest calories, but sugar is also one of the cheapest calories to have. Get a bunch of 5-gallon buckets full of sugar, and also maybe think about getting some smaller packages of sugar. Back to 17, herbs and seasonings. This is super important. You can get, if you keep them dry, most herbs will last a very long time as well. You can get Lowry's seasoning salt. You can get other seasoning salts, steak seasoning. You're going to want all that stuff. You put a little bit of steak seasoning on the top of some mashed potatoes, and it makes it taste so much better. Number 18, dry pasta. Dry pasta will be good as long as you keep it dry. Once again, so you can package it any way you want to. Just keep it extremely dry. 19, I already kind of talked about this a little bit with the meats. I jumped the gun on that. Jerky and pepperoni. Dried meats that are real dry. These are a little wetter, but you know, these things don't go bad either for some reason. It basically lasts forever. Meat sticks and everything like that. As long as you keep them so that they don't go too bad. Like moisture is not good for them, and it's better to keep them in the dark as well. 20, wheat berries and grain. They last basically forever. They're like rice. Just keep them dry, and you do want to keep the wheat berries in dark. Other grains like dried corn can last a very long time too, so that's a great option. 21, instant coffee. Instant coffee is a great option. The beans will actually go off after a while, but instant coffee, because it's freeze-dried, as long as you keep it dry and keep it out of the light, you're basically gonna, it's last forever. So ground coffee goes bad the fastest, then roasted coffee goes bad the next fastest, and then green coffee beans will last the longest of those, but freeze-dried instant coffee will go the longest. And the stuff you find on the shelf, instant coffee, is freeze-dried generally speaking, so that is a cheap and effective way forward as long as you can stand the taste. But in a disaster situation, you're going to appreciate the coffee because you're not going to have anything else, right? 22, cornstarch. Cornstarch is a great option. It has tons and tons of uses. Also, it is food, right? So definitely want that. Number 23, baking soda. Baking soda has a bazillion uses. Is it so much food? I don't know, but it's basically food adjacent. It's useful with food. Think about that. 24, and number 25 is going to surprise you. Number 24, yeast. You can store yeast for 6 years if you freeze it. You can store yeast long-term, not like indefinitely, but you can store it very long-term if you freeze it. I keep yeast in my refrigerator and I rotate it more frequently than 6 years, but yeast will still do its thing. And once you use the yeast, you can then basically like a sourdough starter, you can basically do that same kind of thing with your yeast. So you use it once, start it up. It may take a little bit more to get going because some of it has died or whatever. It won't be quite as aggressive or whatever, but then you can put aside a portion of that and then use that on your next baking outing, right? So if you're baking bread every day during a disaster situation, then you can use a couple packs of yeast to get started, and then you can just kind of keep using that yeast. 25, seeds. Seeds can last basically indefinitely as long as you keep them away from light, heat, and moisture. So keep them in the packets they're in, especially if they're in a foil mylar package. You can buy them so that they're already in foil mylar packages, and then keep them in the fridge. The mylar will keep the light out, the mylar will keep the moisture out, and you keep it in the fridge. That keeps the heat out, and boom, you're looking at seeds that basically will last indefinitely. Will you lose some of the germination rates down the road? Yes. Yes, you will. It won't germinate quite as effectively, but if you want long-term food, the most powerful thing that you can put in your long-term food storage is seeds. All right, friends, hopefully that was useful. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments down below. There'll also be a bunch of links down in the pinned comment and in the description for a bunch of these items and pointing you in the right direction with those things. Thanks so much for watching. Steve Poplar of Poplar Prepper, out.